What is good, people? I hope you're all alright. I am James. I'm an aspiring videographer, cinematographer, and in today's session I want to go over white balance and is it affecting your image quality. Now, this is something that I have definitely been caught out with in the past, especially when I've took photos when I first got my camera, right through to forgetting to change my white balance. The reason I decided to do this is that I watched a video where a photographer spoke about how he'd never changed his white balance in the camera. He'd left it at 5600 Kelvin, and he liked the fact of how that was because it started to see or show reality as it is. And what he means by that is fundamentally how that when he would take photos at night, when he could see warm tungsten lights like we can see in this lamp over here, things would appear more yellow, which is more true to reality. And when he decided to do it at night, things tend to come and appear more blue, and that's something that when he was taking the photography he really enjoyed. Now, there is a caveat on this in that I suppose film and photography, while would seem on the surface it is the same, there are some small differences. Yes, they say they share a lot of commonalities, but when it comes down to the image quality, especially the cost of the data, if you like, or the cost of the camera when using a raw image, most cameras have the capability to take raw photographs, and that allows so much more alteration. And to be honest with you, I believe the understanding is that white balance is not even affected, that your camera keeps all that data, so it allows you to fundamentally change or should I say reset it back to what it needs to be, and gives you a lot more creativity when in post. Most people who have a prosumer camera and everything else maybe have 10-bit, maybe even 12-bit, but either way do not have the capability of, if they really throw out their white balance, to be able to pull that back. And that's something that I wanted to try here, is that is this guy, I'm not going to say right, because we're going to do this with two images, guys. We're going to do this with two images. And I really did push one of the images to see what we could do. But I want you just to kind of see and get an idea of what we're doing. Now, I want to go over and ask the question is, what is white balance, for those people who may not know? And for this, I've actually taken a quote from Adobe, because I think it's always nice to know what they think. No, it's not that at all. We use Adobe because I typed it in Google and this is what came up. I saw the Adobe line. I thought this is a good way of capturing what it is. So the Adobe definition is: white balance refers to the color temperature of which white objects on film actually look white. But it's not just the appearance of white. All the colors in the shot are determined by how you set your white balance. So the implications of this is quite profound, and I've got, just to give you a bit of an idea for this. So this is quite profound, and I'm saying this because this affects everything in the camera. So let's say we set our camera's white balance, and just for those who don't know, we measure the color temperature of your of the white, so if you like, or the white balance, in what we call Kelvin, K. Now, daylight is considered at 5600 Kelvin. Now, there's charts, you can Google charts, and you'll get to see all the times of the day and golden hour and everything else in between. It'll show you what you should be setting, but if you're in that ballpark, you're pretty safe within a ballpark of it. But just to give you an example of how this works, so if we set our camera to 5600 Kelvin, any light that is taken into the camera that is perceived above 5600 Kelvin will appear more blue. Anything less than that, i.e. lights, tungsten lights, warm lights, will appear more warmer if it's lower than the given white balance in the camera. Vice versa, this is the same if you have a low white balance in the camera. Anything above it will appear more blue, anything less, like lower than it, will appear more warm. Now, this is why we alter our white balance in it. Well, that's the idea in the camera, is to allow us to see what true white looks like, because once you record it, you've recorded it, unless you have raw, of course. So let's just get into the two shots. For this, I think we'll talk about the parameters of it, what we're going to try and do, and I'm going to put the two parameters on screen just so you can actually see what this is. So as you can see, what we're going to do here, we're going to shoot it with two shots. These two shots, one is going to be the shot similar to what you're going to see right now, but fundamentally what I do is I match my key light to my lamp. Now they're not bang on, right, but I go again roughly in the ballpark, which I believe would have been around about 4200 Kelvin, and then with this kind of profile, flat white profile, we can then mess around with it how we want. The second, what I did is I boosted my white balance in the camera, I believe actually above 5600 Kelvin. I did this to I just did it until the image looked, well, yellow, we'll say for that. So I'm going to chuck both of them on screen. Let's put the 5600 Kelvin on, oh sorry, forgive me. So let's just put on the 4200 Kelvin, which is the image, what I would normally use. So put that on and have a look at that and see what you think. And as you can see, looks relatively fine. It's just a standard shot. There's nothing untoward on that. Nothing more than that. But and I just want to point out, this image you're seeing right now, anyway, is pretty warm. Like my room is beige and browns and things like that. So it's kind of a warm room anyway in what we're working with. But let me just put on the warmer image. So this is something that I'm trying to simulate, that if he was using a 5600 Kelvin, like the gentleman was, and he's seeing something like is really, really warm light, well, let's just put it on scene. As you can see, now you could go either way with this. I chose to go warm, as you can see, but it's really warm. I mean, it's practically yellow. This itself, to me, looks very horrible. So not a very nice image. Now I went over to prove a point and to really test DaVinci. Now DaVinci has this thing where you can actually auto-correct the white balance. And if I'm honest with you, I was really impressed with DaVinci's corrected white balance. Let me just show you what that is. Now again, I mean, when you look at that, that's pretty amazing. But let's just say this: it's not perfect, and it does feel like there's something off about it. If I then try and correct the white balance more, you can see the image just starts to go blue and it starts to break down. I think the white balance is more noticeable in this frame if we then compare them both together. And before we do compare them actually both together, I just want to bring you to a point here that the image starts to break down in the areas. I don't know if you can see that, but you can start to see that it's looking in these areas. Now, we're not bothered about these areas and people probably won't notice it, but let's say you're filming for a client or something. This is where things start to really, this is just to get it for base level. If you're wanting to actually turn it to a bit more cooler image, you're probably not going to have the option to do that. Now let me just put let's put the two frames side by side. When I first first color corrected the really yellow image, if you like, I actually thought, wow, it's actually done it. It's just me making a mountain out of a molehill, but it's not. You can actually see there is a difference between that. Summary. I suppose this is a real quick hit, I suppose, this in seeing this, and to me this this brings up a very similar thing we talked about at the start of this, which was, and this is something we spoke about at the start of this, which was the image in a photo is a lot easier to manipulate if we're using RAW than it is video, unless you've got a very good camera what allows you to shoot RAW. And don't forget, RAW comes with not just a case of having a camera, but it's having the data in order to do that. Now again, editing RAW is a lot better. I use an Atmos Ninja in order to sort my workflow out and everything else in between, because I like it to be a bit smooth on my computer. I don't like using I can't remember what they're called. Yes, but anyway, it's just something that we need to think about with this. So my question to you is this: what do you think? We're kind of at a crossroads with this. Do you like to capture the image as it is in your camera, but don't care about editing in post, or at least even changing it? You want to capture life as it is, and if that's what the colour is, that's what the colour is perceived as. If that's what you're going for, go for it. I can't see that being an image. I think I will always lean to the fact that if I can make my white balance neutral, if I want to add it as I saw, I am able to manipulate that as I see fit in order to recreate the image the way that I need, or I would like to, or the client wants. It just gives us more scope, more room to move that image, because it's not hard to break an image down when we start to push and pull the colours. That's something that, especially depending on the camera you've got, me moving from an 8-bit camera to a 10-bit camera might seem like such a minuscule thing, but the image truly does hold up a lot better when I start to give it some real pull in post. And it's something that might seem so small, but yeah, I noticed that more or less instantly. The colours are a lot more punchier. There was a lot more room for me to have a play. And I think this is one of them things where if you put too much yellow in your image, it's going to limit you so far. Would you like to start in the middle and have the option to go a little bit left and a little bit right, or should I say warm or cold? Or would you like to start at cold, or warm for that matter, and only be able to potentially get it close to neutral? For me, I think it's an easy answer. I would rather be in the middle and move it which particular way I want it to go, versus being stuck at one end of the spectrum and only probably being able to pull it back to the center if I'm lucky. And how does that work if you're wanting to put a look onto something? Now, if you're just editing life as it is and you just enjoy doing that, more power to you. I'm never going to stop that. But for me, I think it was a no-brainer, this, even though I was amazed by what DaVinci could do, and I attempted to replicate this in the primaries. It didn't show, but fundamentally, I would use the white balance and try and gauge that. Now, guys, just to let you know, I don't use the auto white balance in the camera. There is cameras where you take a photo and it auto white balances. I just gauge it. I literally gauge it. You can use white cards, grey cards, and all these kind of things in between will allow you to get a better image, and if that's what you need to do. So I'm not perfect. I just kind of gauge the room. If it looks warm, I take it down into the 4000 somewhere, and I look at my image. And if it's really like blue, which to be fair, I probably go up to 5600 Kelvin. I probably float between 5600 Kelvin and 4200 Kelvin. There's not much instances where I'm been put that need to be outside of that, if I'm quite honest with you. That itself is not a perfect way, but I do feel like it allows me a little bit more flexibility, let's say. So I suppose this just comes down to the final question is, what do you think? Do you think it ruined the image? Did you not? Is it something that you will start thinking more diligently of using? Do you always use your white balance like it's just a #1 rule? Like, what do you guys think? What's your opinion on these two images, and the advice you would probably give to people out there who are getting into this, who should they be using it? Should they not? What's your opinion? Should we be using white balance? Should we be seeing life as it is? Do we feel like we should have the opportunity to edit? Who knows? I don't know. For me, I think I'm in the camp of keep it neutral. Photographers, stop showing off about your raw. Anyway, guys, I've kind of just rambled on for a little bit there. If you've enjoyed this, I suppose give it a like. Thank you for stopping to the end if you've managed to. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy, guys.